In the bustling Nigerian village of Umuahia, 12-year-old Kelechi lived a life stripped to its bones. No father, no home, just him, his pregnant mother, Ngozi, and the unborn child she carried. Their shelter was the sparse shade of a mango tree near the village market, where the earth was hard and the nights were cold. Each day was a battle for survival, scavenging for leftover yam peels, dodging the taunts of passing traders, and holding tight to the fading hope that tomorrow might be kinder. Kelechi's father, Emeka, had been a carpenter, known for crafting sturdy chairs that adorned many homes in Umuahia. Their small rented hut, tucked behind a cassava farm, was modest but alive with warmth. Emeka's laughter filled the evenings, and Ngozi's cooking, egusi soup simmering on a coal fire, drew neighbors to their doorstep. Kelechi, with his quick smile, would sit on his father's lap, listening to stories of brave hunters. "Your name means thank God," Emeka would say, ruffling his son's hair. "And that's what you are, a blessing." Life was simple, but to Kelechi, it was everything. Then came the night that broke their world. Emeka had gone to deliver a table to a client in a neighboring village. He promised to return with roasted corn for Kelechi. But as the stars rose, he didn't come. A call from a stranger brought the news: a motorcycle accident on the dusty road to Abia. Emeka was gone, his body too broken for a proper farewell. Ngozi clutched Kelechi as they received a splintered hammer and a faded work apron, Emeka's only remnants. The funeral was a blur of mourning songs and pitying glances. Kelechi held his father's hammer, its weight a silent reminder of what was lost. Grief didn't pause the demands of life. Rent was due, and the landlord, a stern man with a gold tooth, showed no mercy. Ngozi, pregnant and fragile, couldn't work. The little money from Emeka's savings vanished into debt and funeral costs. The landlord's visits grew colder. First, he took their chairs, then the cooking pots. One morning, he arrived with two men who began hauling out their belongings. "Pay or leave," he said, avoiding Ngozi's pleading eyes. Kelechi watched, clutching his school bag, as their life was packed into a rusty van. By dusk, they were homeless. Ngozi, with her swollen belly, and Kelechi, carrying their few possessions, wandered until they found the mango tree near the market. It wasn't much, but it was shelter. The village market buzzed with life, traders shouting, goats bleating, but for Kelechi and Ngozi, it was a place to disappear. They slept on a tattered mat, the night air heavy with the smell of smoked fish and dust. Kelechi learned quickly: hide your slippers, guard your coins, and never trust a stranger's smile. Some villagers were kind. Mama Nkechi, who sold palm oil, sometimes slipped Kelechi a boiled yam. "Eat, small man," she'd whisper. But kindness was rare. Most nights, hunger gnawed at them, and the rains turned their sleeping spot into mud. Ngozi's health weakened, her coughs growing deeper, her movements slower. Kelechi saw the fear in her eyes but never spoke of it. Instead, he'd lie beside her, whispering, "We'll be okay, Mama," as the baby kicked against her belly. One evening, as hunger clawed at their insides, Kelechi made a decision. "Mama, I can sell kola nuts," he said, his voice firm despite his trembling hands. Ngozi hesitated. She'd vowed her son would never hawk in the streets, but survival left no room for pride. With a loan of 300 naira from Mama Nkechi, they bought a small tray of kola nuts and began their new routine. Before dawn, Kelechi would balance the tray on his head, weaving through Umuahia's market, shouting, "Kola! Fresh kola!" Ngozi, too weak to carry much, sold small bundles of ugu leaves nearby. Kelechi's voice rang out, clear and hopeful, drawing smiles from some buyers. A trader once tossed him an extra 50 naira, saying, "You've got spirit, boy." On good days, they earned enough for a loaf of bread or a handful of gari. They'd sit under the mango tree, counting coins, dreaming of a rented room. "You'll go back to school," Ngozi would say, her voice fierce with determination. Maybe even become an engineer. Kelechi would grin, or a pilot, Mama. I'll fly us far away. Those moments of hope kept them going. Kelechi would talk to his unborn sibling, pressing his hand to Ngozi's belly. I'm your big brother, he'd say. We are saving up for you. But the streets were unkind. Area boys demanded tax for their spot under the tree, and some nights, Kelechi stood in front of his mother, fist clenched, daring them to come closer. They laughed but left, perhaps seeing something unbreakable in his eyes. It was a bright Tuesday morning when tragedy struck. Kelechi and Ngozi were crossing the main road to the market, their trays balanced carefully. The sun was high, the air thick with the scent of roasting plantain. A truck, impatient in the morning rush, barreled through a stop, its driver distracted. Kelechi saw it too late. Mama, he screamed, but the truck's edge caught Ngozi, sending her spinning to the ground. Her ugu leaves scattered like green confetti, and blood seeped from her arm. The crowd gathered, some shouting, others whispering. Kelechi knelt beside his mother, her breathing shallow, her face twisted in pain. The baby, she gasped. Two men lifted her into a waiting motorcycle cart, and Kelechi clung to her side as they sped to Umuahia General Hospital. At the reception, a nurse demanded, emergency deposit, 50,000 naira. Kelechi's heart sank. He pulled out 800 naira, his voice breaking. Please, it's all we have. She's pregnant. Save her. The nurse's face was stone. No money, no treatment. Kelechi begged everyone in the waiting room, traders, mothers, even a pastor, but no one helped. A security guard moved to push them out when a man in a creased suit appeared, his presence commanding the room. Dr. Chidi Okoye, the billionaire owner of Okoye Medical Center, was visiting the hospital. His face was known from posters across Abia State, promising world-class care. Kelechi didn't hesitate. He ran to Dr. Chidi, grabbing his sleeve. Please, sir, my mother's dying. They won't help her without money. She's pregnant. Please. The guard lunged, but Dr. Chidi raised a hand. Stop. He knelt to Kelechi's level, his eyes softening. Where's your mother? Kelechi pointed to the stretcher. Dr. Chidi turned to the nurse. Get her to the ER now. Call the surgical team. No delays. The nurse nodded, cowed by his authority. As Ngozi was wheeled away, Dr. Chidi noticed a faint scar on her wrist, a jagged line, like a lightning bolt. His breath caught. It was identical to one he bore, a mark from a childhood accident. A memory stirred, one he'd buried deep. In the operating theater, nurses worked swiftly, stabilizing Ngozi. Kelechi sat outside, his hands clasped, whispering prayers he barely remembered. Dr. Chidi paced nearby, his mind racing. That scar, it was too familiar. When he was 5, his mother had told him of his lost sister, separated during a chaotic market day in Umuahia. She was taken, she'd said, her voice breaking. We never found her. Dr. Chidi had grown up with that loss, building his medical empire while carrying the weight of a sister he'd never known. He approached Kelechi. What's your mother's name? He asked gently. Ngozi Emeka, Kelechi replied. Any family here? Kelechi shook his head. My father's people called her cursed. Her own family said she was adopted, bought from a trader years ago. It's just us. Dr. Chidi's heart pounded. He excused himself, ordering a DNA test from his private lab. In the ER, as Ngozi stabilized, he took a swab from her cheek, then one from himself. Hours later, the results confirmed it. Ngozi was his fraternal sister, the one stolen decades ago. Ngozi woke in a quiet hospital room, Kelechi at her side. Dr. Chidi entered, his face a mix of exhaustion and wonder. How are you feeling? He asked. Weak, Ngozi whispered. I can't pay for this, but I'll work. You owe nothing, Dr. Chidi interrupted. He sat beside her, showing her the scar on his wrist. Ngozi, I think you're my sister. He explained the market incident, the DNA test, the scar they shared. Ngozi's eyes filled with tears. All my life, I thought I was no one's child, she said. Now you're saying I have a brother. Yes, Dr. Chidi said, his voice thick. And a mother who's still alive, praying for you. Kelechi, listening, whispered, so you're my uncle. Dr. Chidi nodded, pulling him into a hug. You'll never be alone again. Days later, Ngozi gave birth to a healthy girl. Kelechi named her Amara, Grace. When they left the hospital, Dr. Chidi took them to his estate in Umuahia, a sprawling compound with guava trees and a fountain. Kelechi's room had books, a desk, and a bed so soft he sank into it. Ngozi's room was stocked for the baby, with clothes and a crib. Dr. Chidi enrolled Kelechi in a prestigious school, where he thrived, his laughter echoing through the halls. Ngozi met their mother, a reunion of tears and embraces. The mango tree was a memory now, replaced by a home filled with love. Kelechi never forgot the village market or Mama Nkechi's kindness. Years later, as a medical student, he'd returned to Umuahia, helping those under the mango tree. His story, like his mother's, was proof that compassion could rewrite destinies, and family, whether by blood or choice, could heal even the deepest wounds.